Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this stupendous Sunday. And it's Father's Day. So, before we go any further, let's say Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, the stepfathers, the fill-in fathers, the people who identify as a father. And even if you're just a father to a dog, cat, fish, or a carrot, have an absolutely fantastic day. You're looking absolutely fantastic, by the way, as well. So I'm sure you've had a good weekend. It's showing. And what we're talking about in this video, we're talking about Howard Blum. Howard Blumber. How in the blue monkey's buttholes does this guy get away with saying the shit that he is saying? That's how I'm going to premise this video. Because I don't get it. Now, the interview that he did on the Drunk Turkey show, now what I will say is I'm not surprised that Daniel entertained Howard. Of course I don't, because Daniel is clearly someone who believes Brian Koberger was the person who done it. Absolutely adamant that he's the person who did it, despite knowing just as much as what anybody else does. And all you can do is either have trust in law enforcement or be aware that there is a long way to go with this case before you can believe that Brian did it beyond a reasonable doubt. But I get it, I respect it. Daniel is ex-law enforcement as well, so I don't expect any different. But this interview was an absolute travesty. It was an absolute travesty, and it brings into question who is telling this guy the stuff that he is claiming to know. Because he's either flat out lying, or someone from the inner circle is leaking information that has been leaked by someone who is clearly in law enforcement or in the FBI. I don't get it. I don't understand. And we think to ourselves, why do the likes of Steve Gonsalves say the things that they do? Christy Gonsalves saying that she doesn't want Brian Koberger to be breathing anymore. Well, can't you wonder at it when you've got people like this guy doing this kind of stuff? This is dangerous. This is absolutely dangerous, whether it's accurate or whether it's not. And like I say, the accuracy of it has a huge question mark over it. He turns around and says, right, that he knows what was spoken about in the journey between Brian Koberger and his father as they travelled from Pullman all the way over to Pennsylvania. Washington to Pullman Drive with Brian Koberger and his dad Michael, and this motherfucker is claiming that he knows what they were communicating about, that he went back over to drive back with his son because he knew there'd been things happening. He knew there'd been issues. And they had a conversation. How is that happening? Like, we have mentioned the fact that Brian Koberger's sister could have well been an informant. And I got ridiculed for that. I got hauled over the coals for it. Do you know what I mean? No. Well, that's what this guy is pushing out, really. Because it has to be someone in the Brian Koberger family or incredibly close to the Brian Koberger family, who they are speaking to, and then that person is then relaying information to Howard for them to know what the conversation was about in that car that day. He goes on to talk about the 911 call. Apparently, he's heard the 911 call. He has listened to it. Now, we can't even do a FOIA request on that call. Can't do anything. He claims that the call has no sort of impact on the case itself. It's not relevant to the integrity of it, of the case. But he claims that he's heard it. He claims that he knows exactly who made the call. That the friend, I'm guessing that he's not saying any names. He's being very clever with that, claiming that he's got, under some contractual obligations to retain people's names away from the book. But he talked about Ethan's friend coming over. We know that Hunter came over to the house. He was Ethan's friend, and that it was likely him who placed the 911 call using Dylan Mortenson's phone, and the call was purely more just screaming and wailing. He states that it was just wailing over the phone. But what that does tell you about the 911 call, again, if that's accurate, is that this 8 hours led to a call not to 911, but indeed to friends who then came over and obliterated the crime scene. We have heard this. It's been whispered about what happened on that day when people came over, and it would seemingly be that he is trying to confirm that is, or he is simply going off of that, what we have been kind of led to believe by the likes of News Nation and Court TV, for instance. But he is saying so many things that would lead you to believe that he's in contact with somebody. And it's either got to be Brian Kohberger's family or it's law enforcement close to the case that are leaking details of this case and allowing him to seemingly appear to people that he knows what happened. He knows that Brian Kohberger is guilty. He knows exactly how this went down. He knows exactly how this crime took place. Exactly. He knows about the 8-hour time delay. He knows that it was Xana who said that there's someone here and that was the catalyst to her demise. And the fact that Dylan Mortensen didn't say anything, which does, I will say, leads to a question of one of the biggest elements of this that he seems to have missed or is a falsity. And that is that Dylan Mortensen didn't keep her fucking mouth shut. She had apparently shouted out to people to be quiet, to shut the fuck up, as stated by News Nation. So there are elements of this that you think to yourself, well, it was always Dylan Mortensen was not a witness, and then all of a sudden she was a witness, and that she'd shouted this up and she'd seen this person. And he goes on to this show and he's like, well, she survived it because she basically froze, wasn't seen, wasn't heard. And you think, well, she said that she saw him. And I've spoken about the dynamics of how that must have happened before. If that house is dark and she opens a door, then you're going to see that door open. You're going to see someone standing in the doorway, whether it's dark or not. There is going to, the door being opened into a hallway is going to break the equilibrium of the light in there. You're going to see the door open, especially if there's a window in her room. And she steps out or looks out of that room. She must have had her head to a point where she could see out to see somebody walking towards her. So I don't get it. There's just things about that just doesn't ring true to me. That she can see someone face on enough to be able to see their bushy eyebrows and the mask on their face and retain how tall they are and what they were wearing. Yet they didn't see her. There's just something about that. But yeah, where did he get this information? And there were some things that he flat out got wrong. There were some things, and we're going to do a live later to go over it. Don't want to keep this video too long because it's Father's Day and you guys have likely got stuff to do. But yeah, so he's heard the 911 call. He knows who made the 111 call. He knows about the conversation in the car between Brian Kohberger and his father on the day they drove across country. And I don't get it. I genuinely don't understand how he is being able to push this stuff out to the public. And this book, like I've got it here. Let's just bring this up for you. This is When the Night Comes Falling. This is his book, and this is coming out, I believe, the 25th of June. Now, I'm tempted to get it just to go through it with you guys. Do you know what I mean? Can't read it word for word, but I can go over it, I can do notes, and we can summarize exactly what it is. If you want me to do that, let me know down below. But the definitive inside story. So the definitive inside story of the Idaho murders from best-selling author Howard, whose groundbreaking coverage of the story was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, timed for a trial that will capture the nation's attention. Like, he's saying that this trial could be another 3 years. That's what he is saying. When the Night Comes Falling examines the mysterious murders of the 4 University of Idaho students, having covered this case from its start, Edgar Award-winning investigative reporter Howard Blum takes readers behind the scenes of the police manhunt that eventually led to suspected killer Brian Christopher Kohberger and uncovered larger, lurid questions within its unthinkable tragedy. Reminiscent of the panoramic portraiture of In Cold Blood and the Executioner's Song, When the Night Comes Fallen offers a suspenseful, richly detailed narrative that will have readers transfixed. And he's calling this a requiem. A requiem. Oh my word. I just don't get it. I don't see how it's legal. Please let me know down below how this is legal. That he is either lying through his teeth and pushing it out as absolute fact, or he is talking about things that someone who was legally bound by the gag order has leaked to him, and they're pushing it out into the public. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. And they talk about YouTubers, they talk about media, do you know what I mean? It's all right when, I'll have a channel that has a narrative. Even Daniel, I don't agree with Daniel over at Drunk Turkey, but that's his thoughts, do you know what I mean? He believes Brian Kohberger's guilty, so be it. Believe he's guilty. Believe it. That's it. You just trust in law enforcement. You're ex-law enforcement yourself, so be it. You've got media, legacy media, mainstream media. You've got sort of the low levels media, and we're all with a narrative, and that's cool as long as you push it out and you don't claim that it's factual. You don't claim you state that it's your opinion. You're spitballing. You're just on the fence with things. You're talking about different things that could have happened. But when you're doing what this guy is doing, and you are claiming to have been speaking to people real close to this, you're claiming that you know these intimate details that are absolutely trying to push that someone is guilty before the trial, before this is all over, all said and done, it seems to me that something has gone very, very wrong here. If you know what I'm talking about, if you saw it, let me know down below what you think. Tonight, join me as we're going to have a damn rant about this. I'll see you all in a bit.